Yahweh is real. He is more real, actually, than you or I. Because He existed before us, and He'll exist after us. And we have an opportunity to have our souls, the spirit part of us, joined with His Spirit such that we exist eternally with Him as part of His own body. And now, Romans 1:19 and 20 was read at the beginning of the class, so I want to have that part read and just touch on a couple things. I'm quite confident I won't be as informative as the prior speaker, but may be able to touch on a few things. And I hope that you'll hear something that will actually be really, really helpful for you that you can take away, not just, okay, that was interesting for this little, time period that we're sitting here. All right? Please read.
Romans 1:19. Because that which may be known of Yahweh is manifest in them.
Okay, go ahead.
Yahweh has showed it unto them. For the invisible things of Him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse.
Okay, now we've read it and everybody knows what it says, right? Let's go back and read it again. We'll kind of take it apart piece by piece.
Because that which may be known of Yahweh.
Okay, obviously then, according to the Apostle Paul that wrote this, there's something that can actually be known about God or Yahweh. Yahweh is the only true name of the only true God that exists. There's a lot of other idols. There's a lot of other names that people want to put on God, but the only real name is Yahweh. Okay? That's His name. We don't get a chance to name Him. Right? I mean, you think about it. Okay? So anyway, she covered that. And I want to just say this. Why don't we all do one thing? Okay? Relax a second. Okay? Now, take in a deep breath. Hold it. Okay, expel. That is a manifestation in our body of our primary vital sign. You look for the vital signs of breath primarily, and if you're palpating, you're doing some other things that are more medical, you can check for the pulse. Okay? I teach CPR. I've been doing that since 1985. Okay? And so there's, for me, some relevance to how this works. The point here is that when you breathe, you're breathing the name, and it's necessary for you to do that to live. Your Creator is your life. Your breath is simply an expression or a manifestation of Yahweh. There's many others. For example, when you walk, especially when the hip works correctly, okay? You walk, Yahweh, 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 right? Yeah. The hip isn't working quite right, it's Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. But it still works. The birds, when they fly, it's Yahweh, Yahweh, right? The fish, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. Huh. Right? The sun comes up, Yah, and it goes down. So it appears, silently speaking to us, empowered by the one that everything in the creation is testifying to. Now, that is something that you can know about Yahweh. You know His name. Because in reality, your entire creation speaks His name, sometimes even silently. Okay? So that which may be known of Yahweh includes his name and a whole lot more.
Right.
Okay? So that which may be known of Yahweh is what?
Manifest in them.
In other words, it's expressed. It's made evident. Okay? It's expressed to us by Spirit, which is invisible, or Yahweh, in such a way that we can relate with it. Go ahead.
For Yahweh has showed it unto them.
And because Yahweh showed it unto them. Okay? Go ahead.
For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made.
The invisible things of our Creator from the creation of the world are clearly seen. And they're seen here in our minds because they're understood by the things that are made. Can you see that? But you saw something invisible. Right? Your Creator is spirit, your Creator is invisible. But you can see your Creator, and it's not the 2020s. It's not the physical vision that we're talking about. It's having a clear recognition, a clear, correct understanding of who your Creator is and how He exists. Now, that's why the Creator gave visions, multiple visions, such as to the first Bible writer, Moses. She talked about him. He wrote Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Not necessarily in that order. Okay? But they were written by Moses because the Creator gave visions to Moses, expressed some things to him, and said, Moses, write this down. That's the reason you and I have a written record of it. Okay? He also did the same kind of thing with other Bible writers, the various different prophets of the Old Testament. He came in as a physical being, or in a physical body, and showed how that what he was doing was the fulfillment and the reality of all those things that had been written down by divine inspiration before him. He then actually, when he died and buried, he raised as a quickening spirit and put that spirit, that essence of himself, into vessels or people, souls, which he then commissioned to preach with the power of that Spirit and to clearly express the same things that had been back with Moses and Elijah and Jeremiah and Ezekiel and all. You understand what I'm saying? But for the first time to actually make those things understood. Now, people have been debating and arguing about things that are in the Bible forever. Okay? In 1931, Yahweh Elohim gave a man the same vision as the visions he gave to Moses, as the visions he gave to the Apostle John. The same ones that wrote down in the Bible. And that man was Henry Clifford Kinley. Dr. Kinley was given the same visions in a manner that allowed him to connect all the visions that had been previously given and written down. Connect them in a way that made it indisputable that those visions really came from the Creator, not from somebody's ideas.
Right.
And that the things that Dr. Kinley was writing about and speaking about and teaching about were directly from the Creator. Now that's an amazing thing. There's reasons why the Creator did it that way. Anyway, we can know something about our Creator. And that which may be known of Yahweh is manifest in them. Because Yahweh showed it to them, and the invisible things of him, which, by the way, everything of the Creator starts out invisible. You understand what I'm saying? Because the Creator is spirit. Spirit, by very definition, is not something that you can see with your eyes, hear with your ears, touch and handle. He's beyond the physical senses. Spirit is represented on these charts by the clouds. You see how this cloud is represented as going all around the chart? It's showing the principle that Yahweh, or Spirit, represented by the cloud, encompasses everything, and that everything exists within Spirit, so that Yahweh, or Spirit, is actually the limits and the bounds of everything, which means, like David wrote, he says, there is no place I can flee from your Spirit.
That's right.
Right? I can't get away from you. Why? Because I live within you. Okay? Now, as long as you're breathing, guess what? Yahweh's right there. All right. Make sense? More than that, another thing you didn't recognize was that you are physically made like the Creator. This was mentioned, that you're made in the image and likeness of the Creator. That's in the Bible. Maybe I can get that for you, because this is one example, just one example of how the invisible things of the Creator, the spiritual things, are clearly seen by the things that are made. Okay, so I'm going to use this as an example, just focus on that. Get Genesis, the first chapter, please. 26th, 27th verse.
Genesis 1:26.
Yes, sir.
And Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness.
Okay.
And let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth.
Okay.
So Elohim created man in his image. In the image of Elohim created he him. Male and female created he him.
Okay.
He, them.
He, him, or them, and it depends on which Bible you're reading. Right. That's correct. Okay. Which maybe that's worth explaining, taking a minute to explain, which we'll do. But we'll go back. Okay. Let's read that again. We'll take that apart piece by piece.
And Elohim said, let us make
Now,
man.
if you're reading the King James Bible, it will say God said. Okay? But correctly, it's Elohim. And there's differences, and I'm not focusing on the differences in the words right now. But you realize words mean things?
Yeah.
Words mean things. Okay? And if you have a choice between using words that clearly and correctly express the meaning that you're trying to communicate, or using something else that doesn't clearly correct it, express it, which should we use?
Clearly.
I mean, that ought to be that question ought to be, the answer should be obvious. I don't like it when people are trying to explain something nuanced and they get into it and they say, well, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Maybe I don't know what you mean, because you didn't say it. Okay? The Creator knows how to express Himself. Yahweh has no problem clearly expressing Himself. We have a problem listening and hearing. But that which may be known of Yahweh is absolutely clearly seen. If you understand how to hear Him, see Him, recognize Him, and He's done that by making a creation. Everything that's made is an expression of the Maker. But there are some things that are made where they are, can I say, more perfectly an expression of the Creator. I'm looking for a different word than perfect. I'm looking for good expression right now. Okay, and that, okay? Yep. And yet a simple one. But I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Your Creator made you. mankind, humankind. Okay? He made mankind in such a way that if you understand the makeup of humankind, and I'm talking about just on the physical level, that clearly tells you so much about your Creator.
Right.
Okay? And here's a little secret too. If you really understand something about the physical makeup of humanity, you can understand something about the soul, which is inside. Because your soul follows exactly the same pattern as your body. But how many of us really even understand how our body works? Right? Okay? You know what your spleen does? You know you got one because you heard. Okay? Let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever seen your brain?
No.
You haven't, right? Exactly. But do you have one?
I think so.
Yes.
You're quite sure you have a brain, right? Okay? I know there are some people that'll question that. But you're quite sure you have a brain because there's evidence of it. Okay? But you've never seen your brain. But one of the things I've struggled with, because like a few others, I grew up educated as a scientist. Okay? And one of the things I ran into in the scientific community was this rejection of the idea that the Creator is actually real. There was this snobbish idea that there couldn't be anything more intelligent than the scientists. That's really what it boiled down to. No, that's honestly what it boiled down to. They had gods, and their gods were named Professor so-and-so and Professor so-and-so. Am I lying?
No, you're right.
And I can tell you personal experiences to back up exactly what I'm saying. Okay? But the point here is this. People will say, I don't believe there's really a God. It's a nice idea. And church is a great thing, keeps people in line. Good social thing, right? And that's the way they use church. And that's the way preachers do. They'll give you a good little social kind of a thing, and they make it as good business. Yes, seriously. David Underwood and I went to where was his hometown at the time. This was many, many, many years ago. We held a special lecture in the town. We had 4 quite dignified looking people walk in to the special lecture. 2 men, 2 women. They sat down. We started, with the class. And we didn't get very far whatsoever, and the one guy just stopped me. He was just rude. He said, stop! Just like that.
Oh boy.
We were talking about Yahweh.
Yeah.
And he said this. He said, look, we know all this. We are preachers. Him and his buddy. Okay, now there's nobody else in the room. Just the 4 of them, David and me. Okay? The only ones there to hear what he said. Stop. We know all this. We're preachers. He says, but I'll tell you this right now. Religion is big business. Some people like chicken, some people like steak, and I'm going to feed them what they want.
Wow.
That's what he said. And that is the way most of these so-called religious concepts have been communicated to the vast majority of people. Through that kind of a medium. Fundamental dishonesty to start with. It's no wonder people reject religion.
Yeah.
Because the religion they've been subjected to was absolute garbage. But that's not the same thing as the Bible. That's not the same thing as the Creator.
Right.
Do you understand? There's a difference. Okay? Now, There is a way to know your Creator. There is evidence of it. You haven't seen your brain, but you know you have one.
Right.
That is in itself evidence of the fact that there is a Creator which you haven't seen, but you ought to know that there is one. And if you were honest, and this is part of what just disgusted me when it came to the scientists, we were investigating mysteries of the universe. Literally, when you are doing scientific research, you are investigating mysteries of the universe, which when you start getting into them, they are awesome. I mean, you start actually finding out things and you go, whoa, that is amazing. Well, you start looking at that and then just realizing, you know what? The little mystery that I just was looking at is one little dinky thing under a microscope here, and there is a vast universe with all types of mysteries that are way beyond the one I just saw. You follow me? Then if you're halfway honest, you realize this could not have happened. Nothing could exist without an intelligence and a power that is so far beyond my comprehension that I don't care what you want to call it, it is way beyond what even people would call God. Do you realize the God that most people talk about is a weak, trivial expression of the God that really exists, which is Yahweh? So when you call him God, that's an insult. Yahweh means, the meaning is the one who exists and causes to exist. Yahweh is existence. Everything that exists is Yahweh being. He be.
That's right.
All that there is, was, and ever will be. That's Yahweh. Now, Elohim is a title that expresses that he is the Almighty or the All-Powerful. Not just having one power. We do not have one God that has part of the power that has to worry about some other God taking over his throne. Do you understand what I'm saying? Look in the mythology. You know what I'm saying? All these mythological gods, they were all worried because they were under competition with the others. There is no one that can compete with Yahweh, because in reality, Yahweh is all in all. There is nothing outside this cloud showing that there is nothing outside of or beyond or above Yahweh. You can't get over him. You can't get under him. You understand? You are in him. Now, you got a brain, you know it, even though you haven't seen it. There is a creator who's spirit. And you haven't seen him with your eyes, but he exists. And he made man in his own image after his own likeness. Right? Okay, so let me just focus on that. I'm going to try and do this quickly at this point.
Genesis 1:26. And Elohim said, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness."
Now, Elohim made man, and he said, in our image after our likeness. Right? He wasn't talking to another God. If you read the King James Version, it says God said that. And it would sound as if he's talking to some other God to help him make man. That's what it would sound like. If you just use the correct words and understand them, a lot of that misrepresentation gets cleared up. The word should properly be Elohim. And I told you that Elohim means what? Just wanted to see if you're hearing.
The Almighty.
The Almighty, or the All-Powerful, or the one with all powers. Now, Yahweh Elohim made the man, he says, in his own image, after his own likeness. And let's see the specific type of power that he imbued in this man to represent the one that made him. So go ahead and read.
And let them rule over the fish of the sea.
Well, now the Creator is going to be ruler. So the man is going to be ruler over fish of the sea. The Creator is ruler over the angels as well as the physical creatures. Follow me? But the man, he's going to have rule over the physical fish of the sea and
over the birds of the heavens.
And so that's like the angels, like the physical creatures. Go ahead.
And over the cattle.
Yep.
And over all the earth. And over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth.
But Yahweh rules heaven and earth. Go ahead.
So Elohim created man in his image. In the image of Elohim created he him. Male and female created he him.
Now that's one specific thing. Male and female created he the man. When the man Adam was first made, both male and female organs and all male and female potentiality was within that one body of that man Adam, which means that the power of life, the power to create or procreate, was imbued right within that man. That's part of what this is expressing. The Creator, Yahweh Elohim, has the power to create. So what he did was he put within one man the power to procreate. You get the point? Okay? He's representing something with the man. Okay? Now, in order for that to work, the procreation with the man, there had to be a process that involved. And I don't want to take too much time to go through that, but I will say this. The man could not procreate initially. He had to divide before he could multiply. You understand what I'm saying? Because where it talks about he took the woman out of the man, okay? But the woman, therefore, was in the man to start with.
Right.
And people think, oh yeah, that means a woman is inferior to a man. You didn't get the message. The woman and the man were one and the same. They were one. And that's one of the things you and I ought to be understanding about our Creator. If you get the point, you and your Creator are one. You're not a separate being from your Creator. It just feels like it. Why? Because of the nature of the physical. And we can explain more. But anyway, the power to create or procreate was in that man because the power to create was in Yahweh Elohim that made the man in his own image after his own likeness. Now, to give you something just basic to see that you can relate with, to show how you are like the Creator. The Creator showed himself in visions to Moses, specifically by a tabernacle pattern. And we're not going to take time to go into all the details. Do you realize, I didn't, and I'm saying this because to me this was a shock. Do you know that there's more than 50 chapters in the Bible that talk about this tabernacle pattern and the functions in it? I had no clue. Now, I was raised with the Bible. No, the only thing I knew about the tabernacle was that was the tent that the Jews used to haul around the Ark of the Covenant back there for a few years in the wilderness of Sinai. That's about all I knew. And that was for the Jews then, but that was then, and this is what? Now. So in other words, that's irrelevant. It was the implication about what I learned about. Yahweh Elohim thought the tabernacle was important enough to devote 50 chapters of his own Bible to it. Must be something more important to it than what I knew anything about. And besides what my preacher knew anything about too, by the way. And I'll say this real quick about them. I remember after I came to class, and I was back home at my mother's place one year, and I went to the church over there one Sunday, and the preacher gave a pretty nice little sermon, and he was doing some comparisons between the sacrifices and how they were put on the altar and the sacrifice of Yahshua the Messiah, and a couple of other little correlations like that. And then at the end of his sermon, he apologized for the need to do that. Where is your head at? Do you understand what I'm saying? Why would you apologize for that? One of the best things you ever talked about. But this tabernacle pattern has a most holy place, and court round about, because it represents the embodiment of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. This that I'm pointing to here is a man-like figure, but this is supposed to represent the great spirit being that people call God, or that is Yahweh Elohim, which is the embodiment of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And he showed this in a vision to Moses for 40 days and 40 nights, and basically twice, and used the tabernacle pattern in comparison with its own embodiment, and showed how the creation that he showed Moses how he had made it was connected to the Creator by the tabernacle pattern. He correlated the creation to the Creator by the pattern. Now he had the tabernacle then made in the wilderness so that there was a permanent reference and record, and those people actually got the chance to deal with it on a day-by-day basis every single day. And this then was like, can I say God or Elohim dwelling with those people in their experience, on their level. Okay? Most holy place, court round about, representing the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But the man that he made in his image after his likeness physically has a head cavity, chest cavity, and abdominal cavity. Now, all the vessels in the tabernacle, shown here, correspond with the organs in the body. Most holy place, like the head cavity, represented here. Holy place, like the chest cavity or thoracic cavity, represented here. Court round about, like the abdominal cavity, represented here. You got a brain here. You got an Ark of the Covenant here. The Ark of the Covenant is threefold, because your brain is threefold. Now Yahweh, let me make this clear. I'm just going to say it because I don't have time to explain details. Yahweh is not three pieces. Okay? Yahweh doesn't exist in three pieces. Yahweh is one spirit, existing all together in three states or conditions. But that's represented by him making things that have three pieces that exist all together as an operating unit. Now, this was made as the archangels, the mercy seat, and the Ark of the Covenant proper. And when it was finished, all three of those were joined together into a single unit called the Ark of the Covenant. Your brain has, use common terms, forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. That's not three brains, folks. Now that's three sections of one brain, but that's showing that your brain, which represents Yahweh or Spirit, is one. Because the Ark of the Covenant was made into one functioning unit. It was three vessels made one. Your brain has forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain, and it functions as a single brain. right? I hope you're not split personality. Okay? Your brain is like a cloud. What is the color of brain matter with no blood? Gray and white. So you have the nuclei and then the axons and so forth, and that gives you the distinction between gray matter and white matter. What is the color of clouds that have very little water vapor in them? They're basically white, and with some water vapor, then there's gray, right? But do you know what color a brain is when it's alive? It's red. And I know because I've done surgery on them. Okay? I'm talking about something I know personally. Okay? And those brains are red. Why? Because the blood or the life is in them, and they give the light. What color is the clouds on the horizon at sunset or sunrise? You look at those clouds over there, and when the sun is shining in them, don't you see that beautiful red? Follow me? That's showing you something about your Creator. That's the light in the clouds, representing the life or the light of Yahweh Elohim, which is Yahshua, and it's also represented by the blood in your brain. Your brain is not alive without blood. Make sense? That's one minor example of that which may be known of Yahweh is manifest in them. And you can take every cell in your body, every tissue in your body, every structure, the way they function, every single thing, and you can see the mysteries of Yahweh Elohim and how He exists. And this is Him. This is all Him trying to show you Him so that you can see something invisible clearly. I hope that's helpful. I hope it's at least encouraging. You're going to have to be guided in that.
Yeah.
You follow me? You ain't going to figure it out on your own because people have been dealing with their bodies for many years and they ain't figured it out yet. But when Yahweh Elohim showed it and revealed it and then gave someone to teach it, which is what He did with Dr. Kinley, then you can take that and you can benefit by it. So take advantage of it while you can. Fair enough? Thank you.